Now let's say that I come up with a unexpected expense, and I'm going to insert a row here, and let's say that this is happening on, let's just say 4-3. This is a non-recurring unexpected expense, and let's say it was $10. Alright, so now I want to show you what this checking balance button does here on this column. Notice I can put in the value, but I don't have my balance columns continuing down. If I click this button, then it will populate that column there. And so what it's doing is it's resorting the all the data. So let's say that I change my mind. That unexpected expense, instead of that being on 4-3, let's say that that is on 331. So now my data is out of order. So let me hit that button again. Now you see that move that column up so that my dates are back in order. So it sorts the data and it copies the data down from the second row down. So beginning balance values up here are just a set numeric amount. Everything from second row down is formulas. So what it does is it copies the formula from row 2 all the way down for both of those columns. And it also finds the point where this checking surplus column begins, and it recopies the top one all the way down so that those formulas are also consistent. And then, okay, so that did the thing where my checking surplus value went negative again, so I can just hit extra twice and bring that back in line. So that checking balance button comes in very handy. Now you can get into a little bit of trouble when you start changing something. So here where I've got a 3:30 date, if I go down and change one of these transactions to 3:30 and it ends up coming up, say on top of above this one, it can lose this checking surplus column. It can just wipe out the values and copy blanks down for that. So you got to be pretty careful. You can get a little bit tricky. If you stay away from the date that the pointer row is at and always go to a date that's later than that, when you initially, if you're adding a new entry and you get it populate the checking and saving balances and then change it to the date. So if it is a 3:30 date, then change it to that and then hit check balance again and get it resorted up. But always be sure to save the spreadsheet before you hit the checking balance button. So if you totally get things wiped out, you can just go back, just exit out of it without saving it and go back and get the sheet back before that, because it's a little bit of a pain to lose that checking surplus column. Now I want to show you what I do with this archive tab. So as my pointer keeps moving down through time, and eventually I got to having rows and rows and screens full of historical transactions, I didn't want to have to keep scrolling down through that and having all that data up above. So what I did is created this archive tab, which has the same column headings out for the most part through the balances. It doesn't have the projection columns because they're not really needed for historical data. And so what I do is I go through and select all the rows down to and including the one that the pointer is on. And I'm going to do a copy, and then I'm going to paste values. So what that does is take me back to a state where, like I had at the top here, where my balance columns are just a fixed amount, not a formula. And then I'm going to select all the rows down to, but not including the one with the pointer on it. And I'm going to cut those. Go to the Archive tab, and then I'm going to paste them in there. So that puts them in all as fixed amount, fixed values, so nothing's going to change. And then I go back over here. Now I've got all these empty rows, and I'm just going to right click here and delete them. So that gives me the first row here with my fixed starting values, and then everything is formulas from here on down. And then, so typically what I do is on like my paychecks where I get paid twice a month, I'll usually move the data over when the pointer gets down to the paycheck on a payday, and move everything else over. So you can do that as often as you like and just keep it cleaned up, or you can keep it all in the main tab, forecast tab, if you wish. So that's it for this segment. Be sure to tune into the next segment where I will continue the explanation of the cash forecast spreadsheet. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks.